Last night, the Sixers win for the first time in Cleveland, beating the Cavaliers. Keith Pompey stuck in Cleveland because of the weather, but he's kind enough to join us here. We'll keep you entertained, Keith. How are you, pal?
Yeah, thanks for keeping me entertained. I'm doing well.
Well, last night was an entertaining game. The Sixers, really a maturing type of win last night. I thought, the way they closed it out on a 13-2 run was really kind of like, a landmark type of win for them in terms of how they closed that game out on the road against that team.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Typically, there was a time, Brett Brown would have like the start of the fourth quarter or late third quarter lineup, and you look at the lineup and you're like, man, what is he doing? You know what I mean? Just because of the certain players he had. And on this occasion, you looked at it and you're just like, wow, I get it. Now you see why they went out and got Ersan Ilyasova. So it was like they had a solid second unit yesterday for, I'm not going to say for the first time in a while, but it was a solid second unit, one that didn't have any holes, so to speak.
Yeah, it's definitely a different look with Bellinelli and Ersan out there. And TJ, I mean, now they have a little bit more balance offense-defense, where with Booker, when he's out there, it's more of a defensive, grind-it-out type of unit. But now they're in a spot where, you got to come out on the shooters. And some of those guys can get rotated in with the first unit, and that's where, they're starting to have a playoff rotation look to them all of a sudden.
Exactly, and that's what it was because, he didn't go strictly – he had some of his starters out there, and you looked at it, and it was just like, yeah, it was a pretty good blend. Guys, the spacing was just great. I mean, it was a pretty good blend. And if you think about it, Amir Johnson hit a three yesterday. Amir had, 2 blocks. He really played well. But it was one of those things where with the spacing was so wide open to where he was able to sneak away and get a wide open three. So, I mean, it really looked good. He even looked better. People were criticizing him for his play. But yesterday, he looked like the Amir Johnson that I see at practice.
Keith, can you speak to the growth of Ben Simmons, maybe from the first meeting between these two to now? I know that was in your 5 observations that you could find on Philly.com.
Yeah, I mean, he's grown up a lot. That first game, and it was funny because, LeBron and Asia, a lot of people may say that LeBron really runs the game. I don't know if that's what some people may say. But it's to a point where LeBron, won that apart. I mean, he, basically destroyed them like a big brother would a little brother because you want that person to get better. And, after the game, he even said, hey, I keep telling y'all that that's the next one. He said, I told y'all before, that's the, the little king or something like that. So, Ben, he looked like he belonged. He had 18 points. He had 9 rebounds, 8 assists. He shot 8 for 14 from the field. But that first game, it was weird. LeBron went 6 for 6 on him, and then Jay Crowder just shut him down. So it got to a point where, he was just defeated, and you looked at it and you say, this is going to be a great player, but he has a long way to go to become an elite player. And looking at him, yesterday, you could say, man, he really got stuff for an all-star. Next year he'll definitely become of many all-star appearances. So he really looked well yesterday.
Do you find him to be a different player when he attacks the rim? I mean, because he obviously wants to distribute the basketball first, and sometimes there's the argument that he's hesitant to attack the rim because he knows if he gets fouled, then he has to shoot free throws, and that may be his Achilles heel.
I'll tell you, Keith, there was a moment last night where I was like, now this is the Ben Simmons I can get into, where he was backing guys into the paint using that little baby hook. Mm-hmm. I mean, that was the Ben Simmons. You're like, how do you stop a 6'10" guy getting guarded by a 6'4" guard?
Exactly, and both of your things. And, it's funny because if you look at it, there's more spacing. Guys, they have to respect the other players. So you really can't crowd the space. There was one play in particular that I saw that was like, wow, I get it now. But when was in the third quarter, and he and Ersan were on a fast break. And you know, typically, his runs, those guys are always stopping, you know, at the 3-point line because they want to get their three. But Ben kept running, and Ersan ran with him, and he got like an easy and assist. You know what I mean? Hello?
Yeah, go ahead.
So it was like an easy assist. Then also, it's just like one of the things, like you said, it's like he can get to the rim, he can take advantage of mismatches. And the one thing that I think Ben Simmons needs to show, and he hasn't, is at practice now, he's shooting these threes, and before he's shooting these threes.
We're losing Keith there. We're having a bad connection with him. I know the weather's bad
Weather
all
there,
over the place.
weather here.
Yeah, we'll try, because he was bringing up a really good point there about what he sees from Ben at practice, and that was something I wanted to follow up on, because last night Chris Webber kept saying he doesn't look comfortable taking that shot. He doesn't look comfortable, but I don't care that he looks comfortable. He's taking it. Sometimes it's like when a pitcher throws a fastball, and that's all he's got. I say to the kid, you got to show something different. You just got to I don't care if the curveball goes over.
Right.
Just show them that you got something different.
Straight heat.
Right. So it's similar to like a pitcher, Keith. You were getting into Ben and what he does at practice, because last night on the broadcast, Weber kept saying he doesn't look comfortable. Now, he wasn't saying it in a way it was detracting him, but it's like a young pitcher who only throws hard. You got to throw something off speed. I don't care if it's a strike. Just show the batter that you got something different. Ben doesn't have to make the shot all the time, but he's got to show them that he's got something else in the arsenal.
I agree, but I also think that people need to be, again, I want to see him. I want to see him do it. But you know what? Unlike Chris Webber, like Chris Webber was a center who became a power forward, so to speak, when he went to the league, right? So you take Ben Simmons, who was a power forward, who they're saying now you're a point guard. You know what I mean? So can you imagine if Chris Webber was a point guard? Like, basically, he wouldn't be out there trying to shoot threes. He would try to do the things that he did. And I think that that's something that comes over time. You know, right now, there's certain things that he's comfortable with. He has a lot of pride. And there's certain things that he's not. Now, in order for the thing with Ben Simmons is, I'm starting to find out, like, if Ben Simmons, if someone stops him from doing something and he gets uncomfortable doing that because of people are stopping him, then he'll do something else. So in other words, it's one of these things is, if people can stop him from getting to the rim, if people can stop him from backing people down, then all of a sudden he's going to shoot more three-pointers. I mean, it's just how it is. Now, he's trying to evolve that in his game, and there's certain times where, like one day Ben made 4 out of 5 threes before the game. And I'm like, wow. But the one three that he missed was like errant. It was a bad shot. And I think that right now he has to get in rhythm. He has to get comfortable. But I do believe it's going to come. It may not come this season, but it's going to come.
Keith, was that one of the better games last night from Robert Covington as far as fundamentals goes, defense goes? I mean, he quietly had a double-double, 10 points, 10 rebounds.
You know, the thing about Rob started off the game 2 for 2, right? And both of them were three-pointers. He looked great. Then all of a sudden he ended up the game, I believe he was 4 for 10, and he was 2 for 8 on threes. Now, defensively, he had a solid game. But when you want to talk about his quote-unquote offense, he couldn't finish. Like, he started off strong and he couldn't finish. So even though he had a double-double, I'm not going to say that that was one of his better games just because he wasn't consistent, you know, with the shot. Now, defensively, you know, he was there. He played well. He used his length and he got steals and he grabbed rebounds and did the role player stuff, so to speak. But after that first, and here's the thing, those 2 threes he hit, they were early in the game. Like, they were the second and third baskets for the Sixers. Other than that, he didn't hit another one. So I'm not going to say it was one of his better games.
Well, it's better than the last time he played Cleveland. He was 0 for 9 in that game in Philly. Sports Bash Live, Keith Pompey from the Inquirer is in Cleveland. He was there last night. Keith, what was like the the buzz in Cleveland. You got all these LeBron and Philly billboards. You've got, was he torn to school? Was he not? He wore blue sneakers, for God's sakes, last night. He's got to be coming to Philadelphia, right? What was it like in that arena? Was there a lot of, a lot of murmurs about that last night?
No, not really. I think that people here are used to it now. The billboard was crazy with the hey Philly, with the crown, that was crazy. But for the you talk to people and they say that Philly is an option. Philly, Houston, and LA and Cleveland are the options. But right now it's so early, and some people I spoke to said they don't rule out that he toured the school or someone in his family did, but they take it as more of him doing his due diligence to see what's out there for him. But it's March the 2nd right now, so all this is going to happen. July 1. I think that it's going to be months away before he decides to do stuff. And I think the people here think if this team is really successful, they can make it to where, as he says, I'm not going anywhere. Now, the one thing I did hear is if Houston wins a championship, which I don't think the Rockets will this year, but if Houston wins a championship, he's not going to go there. He wants to go to a team where he can help them build. So with that being said, the Sixers, look like a good place for him. But at the same time, it's one of those things where it's still early. Everyone's chasing rumors while this guy is focused on the playoffs right now.
No question. It's something to keep an eye on. A lot of fun. And let me ask you this. Are people out around the league? You're all over Washington, Miami. Are people looking at the Sixers as a team that I don't want to match up with in the first round?
Some of them are. I mean, after you look at what the Miami Heat did and what the Washington Wizards did, they're not like saying it. I mean, what people are saying is, it's like, everyone wants to get home court advantage up over the 76ers. They know that the 76ers are an up-and-coming team, but I don't think that people are as fearful of them. Now, again, they respect them, but I don't think they're looking at them in the same light as they're saying, let's look at Toronto, let's look at Cleveland, let's look at Boston. Mm-hmm. Now, they are a great team, but at the same time, if we know the 76ers, they still battle with consistency. So it's just a matter of which 76er team shows up.
He's Keith Pompey, everybody. He's stuck in Cleveland. Probably not the best place to be stuck in, but he was kind enough to join us. Check him out at Pompey on Sixers. Read him at Philly.com, The Inquirer, The Daily News here on 97.3 ESPN. Thank you, Keith.